Good afternoon. The time is 4:01 p.m. on Monday, November 18th, 2024. Call the meeting of the Norwalk Traffic Authority to order. We have a quorum with Commissioner Palladino, Commissioner Sumter, Commissioner Lopez, and Mayor Rilling. Commissioner Collier Clemens will not be joining us today. So the first item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody that wishes to address the traffic authority? If you're here to talk about one of the items on the agenda, that's fine. But if you're looking to address the traffic authority on something else, then we'll bring you on.
It does not appear so, Mayor.
Nobody?
No one's raising their hand, no.
Okay. Then we will move on to the business items. First item is approve the minutes of the meeting of October 21st, 2024. Do I have a quorum? I mean, sorry, do I have a motion?
I'll put that motion forward.
Okay. Commissioner Palladino makes the motion. Are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions that anybody has seen?
None that I've seen. Looks good.
I haven't even seen it.
So all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Now we have several items where there'll be closures of the roads for different events. I believe items 1, 2, and 1 and 2 are items that have gone on for several years. So who's here to present them?
Hi, Mayor, it's Rebecca.
Okay, Rebecca, Ms. Kovacs, if you'll discuss, I need a motion to discuss item 2.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Lopez, item number 2 has been moved and now is open for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Norwalk River Fun Run is something that the Norwalk Public Schools Department of Physical Education has done for a number of years, along with the City of Norwalk Department of Recreation and Parks. It's a 1.2 mile walk and run. We have kids ages from grades K through 12, and we start at Vets Park. We don't close any roads at all. They start at Vets, they walk and run around Vets, and then they cross at the light escorted by Norwalk Police, and then continue on the sidewalk over the bridge, the Stroffolino Bridge, and then down to the Maritime Center, where they end at that point.
Okay. All right, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Kovacs?
So it's a sidewalk and no roads closed, correct?
Yeah, just sidewalk only.
Any further questions?
I don't have any questions, Mayor.
That crosswalk, I might have missed this, where they cross over to the other sidewalk before the bridge. Will there be a need for officers or not to cross?
We always have one anyway, just to escort them across.
So that's all set up, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be set up.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If there are no further questions, I'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I need a motion to move item 3 forward for discussion.
So move.
That's moved by Commissioner Sumter. Ms. Kovacs, I imagine you'll be talking about this one too.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. The Jingle Bell Run is something the Recreation and Parks Department has put on for the last few years. It's a 5K race that we hold at Calf Pasture Beach. We start at Calf Pasture. We do a partial road closure down Calf Pasture Beach Road, and then we turn onto Gregory Boulevard and then back to Calf Pasture.
Are there any questions for Ms. Kovacs?
I have
Seeing
none.
none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, we will have I need a motion to discuss item 4.
I'll move item 4.
Yeah,
From the DPW, who's gonna,
yeah, that's me.
Mr.
Hi.
Frizzagelli?
Hi, how
Okay,
are you?
good.
So yeah, Grumman Avenue is an ongoing project right now for the installation of new water main, as well as the installation of new storm drainage infrastructure within the area. As of right now, we attempted to do two-way alternating with the installation of the new water main, but due to the size of the excavator on site and the proximity of the water main being in the middle of the road, we decided that it would be best to have a temporary shutdown in the work areas for the construction. So as of right now, it's set up in 3 different corridors, I would call it. As the corridors move and as the water main begins installation or completes installation, the traffic detour will shift. Where possible, where we can get, an 11-foot lane, we would take away the detour and do two-way alternating, but due to the safety, we wanted to present this traffic detour to the traffic authority to get your thoughts, say if any additional signage may be necessary. But as of right now, the crew is still ongoing. They're about 2/3 of the way complete with the water main. They should be completed with the water main and the services by end of next week, barring any weather implications. After the water main is complete, they will be dropping back to install new storm drainage infrastructure. For that, I don't believe a traffic detour will be necessary. However, there are instances where we will be installing a crossing, which takes up both lanes of traffic. For those instances, we may revert back to the detour presented here in those instances to make sure that traffic is safe.
Can we have the map brought in up again? Okay. So in the area where the yellow is, I imagine that's where the road will be closed.
Yes, that's where the road will be closed. Signages, as well as 2 police officers and 2 flaggers are placed on either ends of the construction zone. This just gets everyone around the construction zone back onto Grumman. There are detour signs as posted. But yeah, the yellow is where the construction zone is, and as it moves.
Are there any residences in that area?
Jane Way, there are some, but because there are police officers and flaggers, if a resident comes up and they say that they lived on that road, we do allow residential through traffic. So
You have the map again? So why not close it just after Jane Way? Is that because of traffic coming down Grumman?
Close it just after Jane Way.
Just after Jane Way. So
yeah, because we want them. So if traffic's going southbound on Grumman, we want them to get onto Toilsome because
Okay.
Jane Way is the dead end. So we want to get them down Toilsome and then over to Scott Street to get over back onto Grumman.
And are there any residences just north of Ellen Street between there that same situation? Will it be?
Yeah, residential through traffic is always allowed. So
Okay.
if a resident does live on that road, and they do come across the detour, they are always allowed through the construction zone. But we just wanted to limit how many cars go through, especially larger vehicles like trucks, FedEx trucks, things like that. So, but residents will always have access to their homes.
And the only other question I have, the residents will be notified?
Yes, the residents have been notified. On November 5th, I believe notices were given out to the residents of Grumman Avenue.
Mhm.
So they are aware that there are detours. There's a VMS sign as well, telling residents that they will be coming across some construction.
Commissioners, any questions?
Yes,
I was just wondering, although you've notified them before and you start putting up some constructions, and you'd mentioned the VMA construction, which means that I guess if someone lived there, they may forget. So how do you let them know again? Just with the signs, or is there another way to tell them, either by flyers or something?
Um, can you rephrase that question?
I'm just wondering what happens between then and when the construction begins.
So the construction is ongoing currently right now.
Oh, it's ongoing. Okay.
Yeah, the construction is ongoing currently. As I said earlier, we did attempt to do two-way alternating. We weren't expecting a closure. However, due to the site conditions, we deemed it necessary to provide a temporary detour route to ensure the safety of both the public and the crew. So as of right now, I just wanted to bring this to the traffic authority's attention because the construction started before we could have a meeting here. So again, I just wanted to bring it up to the traffic authority's attention in case you guys had any comments or concerns that we could adjust as we move forward.
So, Mr. Pizzagalli, what regarding the start time, I see it's 7 a.m. Monday through Friday, and I might have missed it somewhere. When does it end? What time?
So the traffic detour plan and closures are only during work hours. So they typically start at 7 a.m. and they go until 3:30. Sometimes a little bit earlier, they'll shut down due to the lighting, especially now that the sun goes down very early. So, but they are notified the construction work hours is from 7 to 3:30, typically Monday through Friday.
And then of course the roads are opened up, plates or whatever is put down on the floor. Is that it?
Yeah, and so we're not putting any plates down. We pave as we go. So by the end of the day, the trench that is ripped up, the pipe that's installed is backfilled and paved as they go.
From what I remember, Scott Street is a narrow street with on-street parking on both sides. If I remember correctly, is Shepherd Street pretty much the same?
Yeah, they're about the same, I would say, but I don't remember or recall seeing Shepherd Street having a lot of parking on it. But they are relatively narrow. However, I've also driven through this detour as is, and it's not as busy. It's not very busy.
Okay.
You're still able to get two-way traffic on those roads.
I was just wondering if Shepherd would be a better alternative than Scott, but
yeah, no,
possibly.
they're kind of both the same. I'll be honest.
And when you said about busy, does that Alpha Digital Dentistry pose any, traffic volume or? See it not on Sherwood? I wasn't sure of how much.
No,
if any.
no, there's not. There really hasn't been. Most of the traffic that comes through is just solely for Grumman Avenue to get to Newtown Avenue, and it's mostly residential. But there hasn't been an influx for that digital studios.
Also, Shepherd is the alternative, isn't it? It's not, for the most part, traffic. You're not directing traffic down Scott Street. You're directing. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's directed. So the detour arrows are where the construction zone starts and the construction zone ends. And then we have detour signs to get them back up to Grumman as well.
Okay.
Any further questions?
I have none.
Okay, seeing no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Next, I will need a motion to move item number 5.
So
The
moved.
closure, full closure of George Avenue.
So
Moved
Mayor.
by Commissioner Sumter. I guess Mr. Stanton is going to handle this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Traffic Authority members. We discussed this at the last meeting and appreciate the feedback from the different groups, Transportation, Mobility, and Parking, Police Department, and the Traffic Authority. We put together this plan based on that. Certified letters were sent to residents on George and the detour route to Bettswood. And we did not receive any comments back from people. This map was included with that. So just to remind the group, we're performing work on George to get the drainage trunk line into the Heather Lane neighborhood where there's flooding that is ongoing during storm events. And because of the depth of the drainage and the number of utilities in the street here, our contractor is asking that the road be closed during the construction of that, and that would allow them to complete this project faster through this stretch.
Thank you, commissioners. Anybody have any questions about this?
I have none, Mayor.
I have
I have
none.
So where on the map is the section of George Avenue closed where the dots are?
So there's a red oval or
Okay.
ellipse center
Okay,
of
so
the
that's the
there.
section of George Avenue.
Correct. So that's
Okay.
predominantly, absolutely from Beisel, they have to stop, but we're suggesting at the three-way stop, at Clearview Avenue that they use the detour there. Obviously, there's the potential, if you know the neighborhood, that there are other routes that people may take to avoid this. There's no other, parallel road until you get to Walter next
Okay.
to that.
Commissioners, any further questions?
I
So,
have none, Mayor.
so just to be clear, while that construction is going on, which is January 6th to 31st, that I know of or can recall, there's no other activity in the surrounding area. Is that correct, to be clear?
That is correct. Our permits are aware of this project, and work, that's being done on East Avenue will be substantially complete at that time, and no other work would be allowed nearby.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
I have none.
I have none.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
Item
you.
number 6, I need a motion to move that forward, partial closing, temporary one-way of Heather Lane.
I move item 6, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Lopez, and that's going to Mr. Stanton again.
Thank you all. So this is the next phase of this project that we're doing for the Lockwood and Heather neighborhood. Once we have work that needs to be done in that neighborhood, it's a narrow residential street that is between Tierney and Strawberry Hill. Again, in order to perform the work in a fashion, if you've been out on Lockwood, there's lots of big equipment. There's storage of materials periodically, and residents still want to park on the street. It's determined that a one-way orientation of this neighborhood would be safest to do that. It requires communication in the area that gets people to understand the direction counterclockwise where the green arrows are. Also, this asks or has a sign for a detour as you're approaching Tierney that indicates Heather Lane one-way detour only, so that people continue on Strawberry Hill and take a left, into the neighborhood, whether that's deliveries or otherwise. And then as you're coming from Sunset onto Tierney, there's the same guidance. And at the intersection of Heather at Tierney, as it shows at the bottom, there would be those type 3 barriers that are just basically horizontal bars on either side of the street, with both a detour and a do not enter sign, so that traffic, detours to the other leg of Heather.
And I see the letter here that you've notified the residents. Has there been any feedback on that?
Correct. The letters were hand delivered last week. I have not received any comments from the residents. I spoke to several people there that I know that we've communicated with that are affected by the flooding. They asked if they needed to come for support, and I said, if you would like to, you're certainly welcome, for that. So they're excited to see us, getting towards their neighborhood and working on the next steps of the project.
Any Questions from the authority, the traffic authority?
There is a business on Kearney Street, deli.
Yes, that is correct, where Darlene is highlighting, that's back that way. This would not affect that. The limit of the scope of our work on Heather does not continue into Tierney, nor does it continue into Strawberry Hill. So at no time would those roads be closed or affected by a work zone, other than the signs that we're putting up to get people into this neighborhood safely.
Thank you.
Anything further from the commission?
I have none, Mayor.
I have none, Mayor.
I have none.
Can I have a motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next on the item is a discussion and vote on no standing anytime regulation on Willard Road. Can I have a motion to move that forward for discussion?
I'd make a motion to move the discussion forward with regard to Lockwood Lane. Yes, and
No,
or
this
the
is
other,
Willard
oh,
Road.
number 7, Willard
Yep.
Road. All right, okay.
Okay, so Commissioner
Uh-huh.
Sumter has moved it. Mr. Van Canel is going to speak on this.
Hi, everyone. So basically on this one, we had a business owner on Willard Road come in. They are a swim school recreation center. They basically pointed out to us that their parents, when they drop their kids off or when they pick them up, are parking along the curb line in front of their property. And it's close to the crosswalk and it's blocking traffic and creating an overall dangerous situation for people who are walking across the street. So basically, they just asked that we implement no standing where you see those parked cars in that picture, and then yeah, along that curb line in the aerial. So we went out and we took a look at it, and we verified that it was a valid concern based on the criteria that I had put in that memo for the traffic authority. So basically, the road's too narrow for a parked car to be on there, and then still allow traffic to move in 2 ways. It's close to the crosswalk. It is on a curve, and there's also a very large parking lot across the street that parents are supposed to be using that you can see in the aerial.
How will that be enforced? Because that seems like it's a rather, it's one of those things where people largely ignore the signs.
I'll defer that question to the police on the call, I guess. I'm not sure how it would be enforced.
Mayor, did you need input from the police on this matter?
I'm sorry?
Did you need input from the police on this matter?
Yeah, I mean, something like this is very difficult to enforce. And you know, I like when you look at places like Kendall School, it's better now, but for a long time, people just ignored the signs and parked there anyway. So just wondering, you know, what issue is going to present for the police department?
Well, the no standing time limit, and this is the second one, and I think in last month's meeting, we had one on 3rd Street. For enforcement, it needs someone to keep eyes on that vehicle, see that it hasn't moved, to satisfy the requirement for enforcement. So that's exactly what it takes. So it could be problematic based on caseload. Westport Avenue area in that post 6A and 7A are extremely busy. So that's what it is required to enforce something like this.
So Chief, what happens? Do you depend, when you said that, keep an eye, will the police drive through occasionally? Or what happens? How does keep an eye work?
Well, it's standing because it's not what we have here is really not, it's either subjective or objective.
Mhm.
So if you pull up and there's a parent standing there and the child is 45 seconds out, are they standing or are they waiting? Are they standing for 10 minutes or are they standing for 15 minutes or are they standing for 45 seconds just as the officer approaches? So it could be problematic. It could be problematic. So if the class gets out at 6:30 and they pull up at 6:29 and it's they want to get to they have the kid walk to the car, it could be problematic.
Chief, do you think we should do a no parking there instead of no standing? Or do you think that would be better or?
Well, have you worked with the business owner? Do they have off-site parking where they could satisfy their customers?
Yeah, everything. So
Needs.
the parents are supposed to be picking up and dropping off in the parking lot across the street. That's specifically for their business.
Yeah.
And I think it's just easier for parents to come in and park along the site frontage. It's easier in, easier out, I guess.
Yeah, because they're gonna need a parental escort to cross the road and things like that. So,
Yeah.
So
this is part of like the education of the customers.
that's what I was gonna say.
The education of the customers moving forward, just like we communicate with other agenda items with no parking and construction zones. This is an education for the customers there. They need to adjust and their behaviors, which they've gotten accustomed to, that they're gonna have to escort their kid. Because I could see if the kid's a child, they may want to get out of the car and cross the road. So I think enforcement's problematic, but I think that if we just move forward without education, that could be a problem.
So is it possible for the business to take a more proactive role in announcing that that will be a no standing soon, and that they take, the necessary measures to ensure that they use the parking lot and not use the off-street parking to park their car for safety reasons? And I think if they get that in a written letter, possibly that might go a long way with educating them.
Yeah, Commissioner Lopez, this is Ben Young with the City of Norwalk. I completed this investigation with Nathan, and we have a close relationship with the owner of the swim school here. So I believe he has already made some effort to communicate this to the parents, but we'll follow up with him and make sure that he continues to notify new parents or new guardians of the regulation. I think he came to us with this proposal for a potential no parking or no standing anytime regulation to help reinforce what he was already communicating to the parents.
And that should go a long way, I would suppose.
Any
My-
further questions or comments from the commission?
My
I
feeling
have
is-
none, Mayor.
My feeling would be probably no parking instead of no standing. I think it would be easier to enforce and probably easier for people to understand no parking, and they have adequate parking across the street.
So I think the owner's concern was because a lot of the problem occurs at pickup and drop off times. It is the fact that the parents are technically not parking along the curb there. They're just kind of sitting there or standing there. But even just standing there does have a similar impact
And that's the
on
point.
the travel lane.
And that's exactly the point. If the objective is to get to discourage anyone from idling there for any given time and to avoid, the subjectiveness of how to assess this or how to address this, then we might as well then just go with no parking and settle it.
Why don't we make a sign saying no parking or standing? I think that I've seen those signs before. So because people stop, and the definition of parking means you have to be stopped, and stopped means complete cessation of movement. And stopping there, even with the car idling, would be parking. So if we made it no standing and no parking or standing, that would take care of both of them.
Yeah, I think if we give it a degree of some level of being absolute about, what we're trying to achieve and define, there's no murkiness about it, and there shouldn't be.
So I would need a motion to address that issue, whether it's going to be no parking or standing, in order to, well, why don't we get a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll put the motion forward to amend it.
Okay, all in favor of amending the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Before we do that, what does the police department feel with regard to the no parking, no standing rule? Particularly when people it's a drop-off point. What do they feel? And I know the street is it's an off street. It's not the busiest street, but is there any opinion by the police department before we carry this motion forward?
If it's designated a no parking zone, we'll have to enforce it. Just to the commissioner's point, so there's not a lot of traffic on this road. And it's sort of off the beat.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but the officers are gonna actually have to divert to that road because there's not a lot of call volume on Willard Road or something that's like almost like a tertiary road. So we'll have to pay special attention to it.
So Chief, do you feel that what we're trying to accomplish would be better having a no standing, no parking sign?
No parking is the way.
Oh.
It's a much more objective standard.
Okay. So with our amended.
We have the
amendment-
motion to amend the agenda. Now we
Okay.
need a motion as to what we're going to establish there, if anything.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that the sign that will be placed there would say no parking.
Okay, any further discussion?
I would go with what you suggested, Mayor, no parking, no standing. To make it absolute and there's no alternative.
Okay, so now we have two suggestions. All in favor of simply putting no parking as opposed to no parking, no standing?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed to that particular sign?
Can you repeat that? All opposed to what? Repeat
The simple no parking sign. There's two suggestions on the table.
right.
One is a sign that says no parking. And then Commissioner Palladino felt more comfortable with no parking, no standing. So we took the first vote. Who feels to move forward with the simple sign saying no parking? And I don't know, Commissioner Lopez, if you had a chance to vote, but Commissioner Sumter voted in favor and there were no other votes yet.
So you got one against, what is it?
One in favor of saying no parking.
Okay. Do you
Now-
have any abstentions or any pro?
No, now we need, did you have an opportunity to vote on that?
No, I did not.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the table.
Okay.
All right.
Uh,
Okay, let me say it so it's nice and clear. There's two motions on the table, or two suggestions. One is that we put signs there saying no parking. The other one is we put signs there saying no parking or standing. So I'm going to bring them back for a vote. Who's in
Okay.
favor of the no parking alone?
If there's no, before we vote, is there any little discussion? If there is no parking, why would someone want to stand?
Well, they're going to, well, Believe me, we've seen, they'll sit there and they'll be in the car and
Uh-huh.
they're saying, well, I'm not parking, I'm just waiting for my child.
Okay, all right. Well, if you've seen the signs that say no parking or standing, sounds to me like that would be complete. So maybe we can take that motion off, the no parking, and just put a sign, no parking or standing. Which means.
Okay,
if-
so yeah, we've already voted to amend the agenda.
Okay,
Now, Commissioner Sumter has, I believe, withdrawn his
Yeah, the no-
suggestion about no parking. So back on the table is no parking or standing. Who, all in favor of that?
Aye.
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 But I wanted to add.
What could you possibly add?
So, in the form of a question, because I was also out of concern for the resources of the police department of having to, as Chief said, go there. And my thought was, if it's very blatant and very, like drawn all over the floor and you've got the signs, it's pretty clear that you're not obeying. And therefore you're gonna get summoned. And so that was a question, more of a question, if that's a possibility. Maybe that's a separate vote. I don't know.
The enforcement of it is up to the department or however that's going to be enforced. We're simply determining what the restrictions are going to be on that particular part of the road. I know based on Chief Walsh's comments, it will be difficult to enforce. I also, I think the traffic, I think the staff from operations, DPW, should inquire or require that some of the staff from the swimming facility go out and make people aware of that. And try to get them to move along and until it becomes normalized.
I'm fine with that too.
Okay, so your vote for no parking or no standing is a yes?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that motion carries. That is all that's on the agenda. And now we have, the next meeting is December 16th, 2024, and I will need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 4:38 p.m. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.